Ian Watkins murder inside of high security prison, but who is next? That's what people will be wanting to know, and that is what the high profile Bacons will be thinking of when they're trying to get to sleep on a night time inside of the high security prisons. They will be having nightmares about what happened to Ian Watkins, thinking, when is my turn, or who is next? Because believe you me, people, there will be people inside the high security estate, or prisoners I refer to them as, prisoners inside the high security estate who will be wanting to take revenge on these Bacons. Now I'm going to speak about 5 high profile Bacons who, apart from one, have all been attacked and very seriously attacked inside of prison. So in no particular order, I'm going to talk about these prisoners. On the first one, who nearly had his life taken away in 2010, is Ian Huntley. Everybody will remember this absolute cretin, horrible piece of you-know-what. So Ian Huntley, who was serving a life sentence for the 2002 Cambridgeshire murders of 10-year-old friends Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, was attacked on the 21st of March 2010 by Damien Fawkes. Now I am going to do videos later on in the week, or maybe it's next week, about these attacks inside a prison. I've done them previously, but with us having a load of new subscribers, I'm going to do some updated versions. So he was attacked by Damien Fawkes, who was serving life with a minimum of 12 years for 3 robberies. He was down in the healthcare department when he bumped into Ian Huntley, and he slashed him across the throat, trying to end his life. He did jump up and down afterwards and say, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" He ended up getting life with a minimum of 20 years for that attack on Ian Huntley. And Ian Huntley went and sued the prison system, and he ended up getting a substantial amount of money, which I find highly ridiculous as well, because when these type of prisoners are getting attacked inside of prison, it's to be expected, and they should not be allowed to sue the prison system saying that they didn't get the right duty of care or whatever, and then get a substantial amount of money. They should not get a single penny. It's what they deserve, prison justice. So he will be crapping himself inside of HMP Frankland. He will not be wanting to go to Wakefield Prison, because I've mentioned this on a previous video. Wakefield Prison used to be 90-10, 90% ex-offenders, Bacons, and 10% normal prisoners, general population. It is now 60-40, 60% Bacons and 40% normal prisoners, if you can class them that. But that's what the ratio is in there at the moment, and they are in fear of their lives. So this is moving on to the next one, who is actually inside of there. And that is, 2 seconds, Mark Bridger. So Mark Bridger is another absolute despicable, horrible piece of vermin. I'll try and refrain myself rather with the type of words that I do really want to call them. I'm just going to refer to them as vermin, because otherwise, like I've mentioned previously, the videos do flag up and they do not get the views that they should be getting, because these type of inmates need highlighting, and the members of the public who maybe don't know about what's happening to them inside a prison will take a little bit of joy knowing that their life is a living hell inside of prison, especially these ones that are in HMP Wakefield, because there's already articles come out where they're saying they feel very vulnerable to attack from the other inmates. So Mark Bridger is an absolute piece of vermin. I'm just trying to refrain myself again, but he was jailed for life in May 2013 for the murder of 5-year-old little April Jones. It was another horrific, horrible, despicable crime. So he's been attacked on 2 different occasions. And he was attacked by another convicted murderer, Juvenal Ferreira, 24, attacked him with a knife made from a razor inside of HMP Wakefield in July 2013. And again, he's another one who was trying to claim compensation. It didn't say how much exactly he got, but again, I know lads who have been on normal location, who have been slashed or whatever, and they have not getting any compensation whatsoever. And that's the reason behind that is probably because they haven't pressed charges, because obviously the code of conduct inside of prison, when you're a normal location prisoner, you do not grass, you do not snitch. So in these cases, when lads have been slashed, they've tried to get compensation, they've been refused, and I'm assuming it's probably down to that. Even though it's blatant to see what happened, sometimes they don't get compensation. Probably is because they've never took them to court, whereas these wrong'uns don't think twice. They want to get the most of what they can because they're horrible, selfish individuals. So Mark Bridger abducted April as she played with friends near her home at McKinley in October 2012. But again, these other inmates, I mean, the sentences that they're getting for attacking these individuals inside a prison is absolutely astronomical. That's the word I'm going to use, because Ferreira was given a second life term and had his minimum term of 22 years increased by 5 years for attacking Bridger. I mean, you might say it's only 5 years, but 5 years for giving him a bit of prison justice, it's the same as a 10-year sentence. But again, he was looking to get as much as he can, and I don't see how much he got, but he's actually been attacked on a couple of occasions, but that was the more serious one. So moving on to the next one, who is Roy Whiten. Roy Whiten has been attacked on quite a few occasions. Roy Whiten is the one who has probably been attacked the most out of all of these wrong'uns and all of the wrong'uns I've ever covered on here. And a lot of you will probably remember this because this is one of those cases that sticks in your head. I was 15-year-old at the time, and I remember this when the little girl went missing. And little Sarah Payne, it was absolutely horrendous. Like I say, I was 15, and then when you hear about a little girl going missing like that, everyone was out searching. I remember it on the news and everything. And I think a lot of people as well who have ended up in prison since Roy Whiten was in there, because it was 25 years ago, and a lot of people who were like myself, round about the same age as me, who have ended up inside the high security prison. They've ended up in Wakefield. And again, the class does not, that wouldn't go on wouldn't go on a VP wing. They're not in for doing offences against little ones. These are the ones that have actually getting a hold of this absolute wrong. And he was jailed for that murder of Sarah Payne for life with a minimum of 50 years. So I'll just go over a little bit about who he is actually, about the case. So Roy Whiten, who was serving that life sentence with a minimum of 50 years for the abduction and murder of Sarah. She went missing in July 2000 while playing near her grandparents' home near Worthing in West Sussex, and her body was found 17 days later. But I think this is why, because it was on the news every single day, and obviously when I was that age, there was nothing else on the telly apart from channels 1 to 5. You used to watch the news a lot. And that's probably another reason why it stuck in my mind, because for 17 days she was missing. And for 17 days it was on the news every day. And you're seeing them out searching in the fields looking for the poor little girl. So that was what he got, the life with a minimum of 50 years. But what I find really disturbing is that when he appealed the sentence, he actually took a fucking full 10 years off of it. It was reduced to 40 years. Not that I think he'll ever see the light of day again, but I think it's an absolute insult that they would take so much off his sentence. So I'll talk a bit about his first attack, I think it was. So he was left with a massive scar on his right cheek after he was attacked with a razor by Ricky Tregaskis, another convicted killer, in 2002. But the more serious one, which I've covered on my channel before, was when he was attacked in the same prison, because he's been in the HMP Wakefield, I think, for the whole of his sentence. So in 2011, he was stabbed in the eye with a sharpened toilet brush handle by fellow inmate, twice convicted murderer Gary Vinter. Now, I was in Franklin with Gary Vinter as well, and Gary Vinter was about 6'8", massive bloke, tower above everybody. And he was there, to be honest, he's a wrong in himself. He's not a very well-liked person inside the prison system. He's a very, like I've just said, a wrong un. So it did say in an article as well, he ended up getting he was already serving life without parole, never to be released, but he actually got another life sentence for that attack on Whiten. But he said the only reason he didn't kill him was because he ran out of breath. He stabbed him in the eye with a toilet brush. I don't believe he's blind in one eye. And then he began to stamp up and down on his head. He went in the cell after him, shut the door, obviously done him in, give him a good hiding, stabbed him in the eye. He's on the floor cowering, and he's jumping up and down on his head, nearly popping his eyes out. He was unconscious by this point. It wasn't attempted murder. But he said the only reason he stopped was because he was that out of breath. Now, I do believe it's probably because when you do a bit of cardio, see if you go and do 100 burpees off the trot, you get out of breath because you're not warmed up. If he's not warmed up and he's fucking doing squats and whatever, star jumps up and down on top of his head, he's out of breath and he stopped the attack. Yeah, but then he was again in 2018, two convicted murderers, Richard Prendergast and Kevin Hayden, were jailed for an additional 7.5 years each for attacking Roy Whiten in his cell, and that was in 2018. That was another brutal attack when they've went in, they followed him in, they've shut the door behind him. That was his third time getting a very big onslaught. And he was, like I've just said, absolutely pounded by these two inmates in the pod. And then again, this was last year, February 2024. Andrew Light, another convicted murderer, went into the pod after Roy Whiten. And this one, I took a little bit of joy from this one as well myself, because I've covered this story as well whilst it was ongoing. I covered the trial of Andrew Light. And he did get a not guilty on the attempted murder, which was another joyous day. He didn't get found guilty because he would have gotten another life sentence. And he went into the pod after him because he, again, like I've mentioned at the beginning of the beginning of this story about him, Andrew Light was another one who remembered what he'd done. So he went into the pod after him, even though he'd previously told staff, screws on the wing, that he really wanted to hurt a nonce. Because he was in for killing his friend in a flat, I believe. He was sentenced to life imprisonment around about 17 years. Whatever happened with him and his friend in that flat, I don't know. But he was given, he's someone that's classed as, well, not classed as a VP, shall we say. Someone that would get mixed in with the other prisoners and just be on normal location. But they've put him inside of Wakefield. He doesn't like the prisoners he's been mixed with. He's telling the screws, move us because I'm going to hurt a nonce. He's looked at White and he's thought, right, I know what type of nonce you are. You are the worst of the worst. You took the life of that little one, that poor little Sarah Payne. So he's went in the pad after him, shut the door and stabbed him 29 times to the body and head because of what he'd done. And he says, well, I've done a video, when I've done the video on this, he was screaming for his life, hid under the bed, screaming like a big baby. And when I've done the video, I said, hopefully, when he's getting attacked like this, he has flashbacks or he has thoughts about his actions and what he'd done to poor little Sarah Payne. And like I've mentioned, he's screaming under the bed. And Andrew Light shouted, see you later, Roy, that's for Sarah Payne, as he was dragged from the cell by prison staff. The staff had heard the squeals of that little runt, and they've come to his rescue. Otherwise, I do believe he probably would have taken his life. And again, when I'd done the video on the breakdown on this, I was saying hopefully he gets found not guilty, and he gets a guilty on a Section 18, which is GBH with intent. And that's exactly what happened. Because if it wasn't Roy White, and I do believe the jury would have given him a guilty 29 times about the head and the body, it's obviously an attempted murder. And because of who he is. But the staff came to his rescue, rescued the little squealing runt, and Andrew Light got a few years added on his sentence for that. And like I've mentioned, I did cover that. So we're going to go head back up into HMP Franklin, up in the north of England. And the next one is Levi Bellfield, who was attacked inside of HMP Wakefield also. But he's another one. All of these that I'm mentioning now will be in fear of their life. They'll be thinking, is there going to be copycat attacks in the system? Because they're seeing how much attention the murderers are getting. And them murderers are going to be commended by the other prisoners for being the one that actually took the life of which I'm not even going to call them individual, for whichever bacon I'm talking about on here now. They will be remembered. Even though there might be bacons themselves who's done it, they'll have a bit of a hierarchy on the bacon wings as someone to be feared, and that's the person, people will always talk about them. That's the person that took the life of Ian Huntley or Levi Bellfield or Roy Whiting or any one of the ones that I'm talking about. So Levi Bellfield was convicted in 2011 of the kidnap and murder of 13-year-old Millie Dowler in Surrey. He was already serving life for 2 of the murders, and he's the only prisoner to ever be given 2 whole life sentences. The first prisoner in history who was being, because for the other 2 murders he was sentenced to life without parole, and then for the murder of Millie Dowler he was again given another whole life order. So Bellfield actually took legal action after being attacked by a prisoner with a makeshift weapon at HMP Wakefield in 2009. Now, I've tried looking for the person who it was that attacked Bellfield. I can't find anything other than the articles that I'm reading about now about who actually done it. But I don't think this assault was that dangerous, because he did actually get a payout for the attack, and he was awarded $4.5 grand, where the likes of Huntley and that, I do believe it was into 6 figures. It was something like roundabout, he was trying to get 100 grand, and I'm sure he was awarded something fucking ridiculous like 60 grand, which, like I've just mentioned, it's absolutely ridiculous. But I have heard that Gary Vinder actually attacked Bellfield inside of Wakefield as well. But it says on this one that it was with a makeshift weapon. And the story I heard about Vinter was that he attacked him and he battered him and he said, get off the fucking wing or you're going to get more. Something along the lines of that. But like I say, I'm not sure exactly who it was that done it, but it did. It goes on to say on here, Bellfield from London claimed he suffered minor injuries in the attack and that prison staff should have protected him. Prison staff should have protected him. He shouldn't have done these offences to end up in prison, the fucking absolute wrong'un. He should have gotten more than that. It's just a shame that he wasn't left with lifelong injuries like the rest of them that I've spoke about. But I think the reason behind him not being attacked as much comes down to a couple of factors. One of them being probably because he is quite a stocky bloke. He was a bouncer. He can probably take care of himself, which you can see on some of his photos online. He is, like I've said, he's a stocky little fella. Well, sorry, I shouldn't have referred to him as, I'm going to rephrase that. He's a stocky little bacon, proper little stocky wrong'un. And he can obviously look after himself. If he was a bouncer, you've got to be trained in certain areas to get your bouncer's badge. Even if maybe he didn't have one back in the day, but again, to be taken on by the head doorman or whatever, he's got to be known to be able to look after himself. So I think the reason behind that is because he can look after himself and he joined the Muslim Brotherhood. There is a lot of them on the bacon wings as well. And obviously the Muslims inside the prison all stick together. So all the bacon Muslims will be all stuck together. And if there's a few of them, say 10 or 20 of them on the wing, the rest of the bacons down there or whoever is going to be thinking twice, because they'll be thinking, right, if I attack him, then I'm going to be jumped. Unless you get another group of individuals or you get someone who is from the normal location landings, from the normal location wing rather, and they've been put down there for debts, or they've put themselves down there just to get a hold of these prisoners, which sometimes does happen. They'll make a story up, tell the screws they're going to get attacked, and they'll get put on they'll get put on the VPs, the vulnerable prisoner wings, the bacon wings, and then they'll go on to commit attacks. Or you'll get someone that just doesn't give a fuck, and they'll come up behind them and do what they've done to Watkins, or someone might pay them, which happens as well. You might get other prisoners down there, like I've just mentioned, who are from the normal location landings, or it's in Wakefield and they're all mixed in. They'll give them 100 quid's worth of spice and they'll say, right, get yourself spiced up and go and take his life. And believe you me, when the prisoners are rattling inside a jail, especially the lifers who've got nothing to lose, they will do anything to get their hands on a bit of narcotics, whether it's smack, spice, whatever. They will do anything to get their hands on that. So that is bacon number 4. Now the next one I'm going to be talking about is Wayne Couzens, the Metropolitan Police Constable. So on the evening of the 3rd of March 2021, 33-year-old Sarah Everard was kidnapped in South London as she was walking home to the Brixton Hill area from a friend's house near Clapham Common. She was stopped by off-duty Metropolitan Police Constable Wayne Couzens, who identified himself as a police officer, handcuffed her. He then drove her to Kent, where he raped her and strangled her before burning her body and disposing of her remains in a pond in Woodland. He was given life without parole, and he is also residing inside of HMP Frankland. And he, unfortunately, as of yet, I can't find anything where he's been attacked, but believe you me, I keep saying that phrase, but he will be one of the ones that is shitting himself the most, because he, like Ian Watkins, even though his didn't involve minors, what he done was absolutely horrendous. Taking that young young woman off the streets, pretending he was on duty, she was under arrest. What she must have went through in them final moments where he strangled her and raped her and then burnt her body. Absolutely horrendous. People will not forget this, and he will get attacked inside of prison in due course. And he will be in fear of his life. And not only is he a bacon for what he done, because there's a couple of people said in the comments, well, it wasn't a little one, so how is he a bacon? A bacon isn't just someone that's done something to little ones. A bacon is someone who has done this type of offence. They're all come under the same bracket. They're all bacons. So that is him going to be in fear of his life. But he's also a copper. So you can imagine a copper that's committed this type of offence. It's like a double target on his back. But I do know, which is a fact, I do know that Bellfield, Huntley and Couzens are all on the same wing in Franklin jail. I know this from first-hand, what should I say? First-hand, I was going to say evidence, not evidence, first-hand. Me fucking train of thoughts when what I'm trying to say is, I've been first-hand information. I fucking hell, we got there in the end, people. First-hand information, because I've been in touch with a screw that works inside of Franklin, who's been giving us a bit rundown on what's happening inside of there. And he's told us they're all on air wing. And this is a smaller amount of prisoners on this wing for the simple reason that these are the most high profile. And the screws and the governors know that these are the ones that are going to become under attack. And obviously the screws who are on duty on that wing and the governors don't want this happening on their watch, because they will become under scrutiny. They could lose their job. There'll be massive ongoing investigations around them. So they will not want this happening in their prison on their watch. So they've put them all on ear wing. And like I've said, there's all them lot who are there together. And the prisoners that they'll be putting on there will be handpicked. And there'll be ones that are handpicked so that they do not attack these prisoners. Another one who's on there is that Irfan Sharif, who killed his little daughter, another absolute wrong'un. He was placed on there as well. So that's the type of prisoners that they're putting on there. The worst of the worst, and the ones that won't attack each other. So that is the only reason why Wayne Couzens has not been attacked. Now, there is more prisoners, but I wanted to mention them high-profile ones, 5 of them. There is more, which I will do videos later on, but people will be wondering, well, why haven't you mentioned Axel Ruda-Cabana? Because I've done videos on him previously. He wasn't in them 5, but I will mention him now because he is in HMP Belmarsh in solitary confinement, so he can't be attacked. Even though people who are working down there in the block could get their hands on him, I highly doubt it, because it's probably a wrong and a bacon who's doing the block orderly job, because they will not put a normal violent prisoner down there working down the block with prisoners like that. Hasham Abedi's down there and Axel Ruda-Cabana. But Axel Ruda-Cabana, the Southport killer, will, believe you me, be attacked inside a prison. And I cannot wait for the day I'll bring you that joyous video, people, when he's been attacked and when the rest of these other ones have faced prison justice. But like the likes of Ian Huntley and Roy Whiten, it's good that they've actually survived these attacks, because they're going to go on to get attacked on other occasions. So that is something to take away, knowing that they know what it's like to now be attacked, to be on the receiving end of it, and vicious attacks as well. They will hopefully be thinking about their poor victims and thinking, I wish I never done that. I hope they think that anyways. But I'm going to finish that one off now, people. Hopefully you are enjoying that. But I want to take a second, or a moment rather, to think about all these victims that I've just mentioned here, because all of these innocent victims had their lives taken away at a young age when it shouldn't be happening to young people. But that's why I'm bringing you these stories, to let you know what's happening to these type of prisoners inside a prison. And I do know by the views in the comments that these are the type of videos that my subscribers like watching, because they like to hear about what's happening to these absolute despicable vermin inside of prison. If you are still enjoying the content, people, remember to comment, like and subscribe. Double check to make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because a staggering 60% of my viewers are still not subscribed. A lot of people think that you've got to pay to watch these channels when you subscribe. You do not. You can just click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost a single penny. And a lot of me viewers rather, when they've went and double checked, they hadn't realized that they weren't already subscribed. But also, if you hit the notification bell, every video that pops up, you'll get a notification through on your phone or on your TV. It'll pop up on your recommended. So just go and do us a little favor and check that, people. But I want to leave that one there for now. Hope everyone is fit and well, and most importantly, stay safe and watch what you're doing.